Welcome to Buckle Up Podcast Universe with Brandon Rush.
And welcome back to the Buckle Up Podcast Universe with Brandon Rush and
Mama Rush.
And my mom. So we currently have 13.6 million viewers and listeners in 39 countries around the world and 411 cities around the world as of me checking yesterday, which makes me excited. I like the fact that we are able to connect to people around the world and have so many different people. It also translates into different languages as well. So we're able to, our episodes translate into people's languages, which is a great thing as well. So I'm excited that we're able to connect this all together and see how much that we all have in common. We're taking the show overseas. Looking forward to that. Going over to the United Kingdom next month. We are, and it's going to be great. I'm going to get a chance, and Europe. I'm going to get a chance to interview guests over there as well. So we are happy about that. And then also, we're going to have Dr. David Smith will be back on here today, who I believe he used to be a cardiovascular surgeon. Hopefully I have that correct. And he will be telling us a little bit more. And we're going to change up a little bit for the doctor today and get a chance to go deeper into him and the things he does, his daily routines and what he likes to do. So it's going to be a little bit different, getting deeper into Dr. Smith today. So he will be here any moment now. I'm going to put it on pause. Yeah, make sure I have that back on. And then, let's see here, should be popping up at any second now. Dr. Smith. Uh-oh, your sound's still off, Dr. Smith. You got to hit the your sound button.
Yeah, no, I thought I did. I was hitting the wrong side of the screen. What's going on, sir?
Not too much. Just so you know, Dr.
Mama
Smith
Rush is there.
Well, yes, she's there in her photo.
Hey, Dr. Smith, how are you this morning? Almost afternoon now. Well, it is afternoon.
I know, right? Life is great. I'm glad you're here.
Great.
Dr. Smith, I'm gonna let you know first off, your camera, just so you know, your camera's actually pointing in the wrong direction. It's the camera that's
all right. Oh, well, actually, I got a couple of these guys.
Or you might need to move over. Oops, sorry. I just want to make sure that we got you in the proper screen. I'm gonna pause it just for a second, Dr. Smith, while you. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, you're good.
All right, one sec here.
And then you might want to either back up or I think you're down. I just want to make sure we got you in there so people can see you. What's that?
Kind of down. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see here. Let me pause it. All right. Now we're recording Dr. Smith. We are live. Dr. Smith, first off, thank you so much for coming back for your third episode.
Is it third?
Wow. It is your third.
Great.
I'm a veteran now.
Yeah, yes, sir, you are. You got your scrubs on too?
Hey, taking time off to get here, man. Whatever I got to do. This is fun.
Okay, hey, well, I appreciate that. Dr. Smith, what have you been up to since we last talked? How's the summer been? And then what have you been up to medical-wise as well?
Greatest summer in the world, you know. It's back to school time, so that's why the smile is real. You know, get the kids out the house, you know. Oldest one back in college. The other ones think they're athletes. So no, they're definitely athletes, scholar athletes, Spanish, Mandarin speaking athletes. So
holy smokes,
they're out the house. I'm loving all of this. And yeah, and back to the practice, you know.
Okay.
I think last time I was talking to you guys, we were trying to give out a bunch of free things.
What ended up trying to give? That was that was for. Will you tell us what was that thing that study that you were working on again, and then how'd that go?
We've talked so many times there, though, Brandon.
It was
I think first time was that EKG thing, right?
Yes, sir. That was it.
Yeah, that was a study I was doing with some colleagues in Ireland.
Okay,
that's done. I was trying to give out other free things. I don't know. You probably know a lot about. As a cardiologist, I've seen people who are pretty much at the worst end of the spectrum, and so you probably know about a lot of people who take a lot of drugs for cholesterol medicine, statins, and stuff, and it still doesn't help them. Right, you still get heart attacks. Well, there's some genetic things that go on that we never test for in America.
Okay,
I was giving those tests out for free, and that's over now as well. I gave out as many as I could.
And then, do you think that people are receptive of it, or do you think people are more scared about finding out about that? What do you think? What do you think was the outcome of that? I guess.
You'd be surprised how many people actually really do care about themselves if you talk to them.
Yeah,
Sit down and talk to them. Don't just tell them, "Hey, look, you got to get this done because of whatever." No, that's scary. That's what scares
abs-
people.
no, definitely, definitely. Well, Dr. Smith, what is a misconception that some people sometimes have about what you do in your job, both when you were full on practicing and actually, I guess, performing, and then what to
Sure.
now? So, what are some misconceptions that people would have? You think?
There are a lot of them. I guess some of the more salient ones. So on one end, that cardiologist or that a primary care doc and a cardiologist does to being true. The level we get into, the perspective we have is so much more intense. Nothing wrong with the primary care. The primary care doctor is amazing, right?
Okay.
They handle what they have to do. But as a cardiologist, you got to imagine if my focus all day, every day is what we're going to do next. I think definitely everything we do is more evidence based medicine.
Okay.
So I'm not just going to do something because I heard that something worked or my great grandfather did it and he lived to 175. That's not going to work with us, right? With us,
Absolutely.
everything has to be true, proven. Another thing is that I think they think a cardiologist in the name is all the same or something like that. No, the way
Yeah.
it's not. Cardiology got so specialized now that you can't just be a general cardiologist anymore.
Really?
Um, yeah, no, you're the cardiologist. You could be invasive cardiologist where you're doing all the cats, but that doesn't mean that you're opening arteries because then that'll be the interventional cardiologist, but that doesn't mean he's the one doing procedures. He could do procedures on the arteries. But then there's another structural cardiologist who'll do things like change your valves and kind of make CT surgeons mad because they're doing a lot of procedures along with CT surgeons. But that has nothing to do with the electricity of your heart because then you got the electrophysiologist
Oh,
cardiology,
wow.
who's very different. Again, than the non-invasive who may happen to be an imager. So
Mhm.
now you're talking about, ultrasound, CAT scan, MRI, PET scan, all the rest of these, and he or she may be the master of that. So yeah, I think a lot of people don't recognize that a cardiologist in name is not necessarily the same. So
Okay.
a lot of different things. I can go on and on. Oh, one other thing is that there's an academic cardiologist and then there's a community cardiologist. You can belong in a group or wherever. Your focus will be a little bit different. I happen to be
Okay.
an academic one.
All right. That
So
sounds
yeah.
interesting. And then Dr. Smith, I was watching this thing called Wrestling, what's going to do with cardiology. I was watching this thing called Wrestling with Shadows or The Dark Side of Wrestling. And there was this great athlete and wrestler back in the day that I used to watch. I believe his name was I might be pronounced his last name wrong, but it was either Brian Pullman or Brian Perlman. He was a wrestler who came from a family that most of his dad, like his whole entire history of his family, they died at the age 55. They had something. They all died of a heart condition at age 55, at least in his
Oh,
family.
wow.
And he ended up dying at the age of 35. They went to call him one day for to say, "Hey man, you haven't shown up for this pay-per-view," and he had passed away. And then it turned out that he died of a heart condition that he had. But how does that work? Why is it with his situation where his grandfather and his dad all died at age 55 or around? I'm just trying to go with my memory. I'm hearing it, and then he passed away at 35. He has a son as well. Is that something that you think that maybe his son might have to worry about too, or is it
Yes.
really?
Absolutely. That's part of the test that I was looking at. I was looking at one called LPA,
Okay.
also known as apolipoprotein disease or lipoprotein A disease, a whole bunch of different names. And I'm not saying that's what happened in this particular case, but likely it is. It's so much more, prevalent than we. It's much more common than we thought. Med school, I took the test. It was like one question and like 300 tests questions, and people just said, okay, yeah, LPA, don't worry about it, we got it. But it turns out it probably accounts for 20% of a lot of the disease out there. So that's 1 in 5. And it's
Really?
interesting that you said the age 55 because that's the cutoff where we call it premature cardiac death or
Really?
premature family history of cardiac death, right? So a man at 55, woman at 65, if you start talking about heart disease in those ages, then yeah, there's something genetic, which is why, the son needs to get tested right away.
Oh wow, yeah, because
Yeah.
it was. I remember it being one of the most shocking cases, just because I was a huge WWE fan, huge wrestling fan, and this guy was so. I mean, like I was a kid at the time, but for him to be that young, realizing that he was only 35, I mean, that's a shocker. And most of those wrestlers are in the top conditions of their life. So I was, and is there, if it's genetic, what is a person that, hey, you know, that if my family member is, well, it's got to scare you for one, if your dad passed away at 35, and then you know that's in your history. Is there anything that a person can do to change up that possibility, or it basically it's just a matter of time? If it's genetics, there's nothing you can do about it.
So yeah, that's a great question. If it's the LPA stuff, yes, that's genetic. You take all the medicines you want. As of today, there's nothing you can do. But there are some things in the pipeline that I'll tell you about in a second.
Okay.
But you know, it could be other things. I mean, it could have been an arrhythmia. He could have had the way his heart was formed. You know, growing up, just probably manifested later on. Could have been other ways to clog your arteries. You know, family hypercholesterolemia. I'm saying all these big words, but you know, there are other things that run in the family. Okay. But like I was saying, some of the genetic things that, you know, we couldn't touch before, that's not necessarily the case anymore. We're coming out now, everything. So, I mean, taking through medicine, right? You know, we used to do again, like, hey, you know, so-and-so takes this in their family. These guys live longer than those guys. So why don't you just try it? Then we started doing more evidence-based, right? We started saying, hey, for example, heart failure. You know, people used to chew on the foxglove plant and they did better. So they isolated that and said, oh, well, it's something called digitalis. And then they put it into a drug. And then they found, well, there are better drugs than that. So then they started taking pill versions of these 2-3 times a day. Then we got the longer acting one. So now it's just once or twice a day. But then they started going to injections, right? Which, now that's just once a week. And what we're removing to is now you have some injections, some medicines that are like once every 6 months or even once a year. Well, the next level, the next frontier is we know genetically, especially you know, since the Human Genome Project years and years and years ago, we know genetically where some of these problems are, where the genes, some of these problems are. So, for example, this LPA one, knowing, you know, where it is, we can kind of craft some genetic molecules, right, to actually go in and stop the overexpression of this, stop the body from producing as much of this. And yeah, those can be injections that might be once a year. Then down the road, we're talking about, and this is kind of like an AI type thing, but down the road, 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, we might be talking about just giving this medication and the disease is gone forever.
Really?
We're getting there. We're inching that.
Well, that's a blessing. And then I guess another question I have, Dr. Smith, is when you're saying as we're getting there, whenever you guys have patients, I know that there's I can't remember the word where you can't tell someone's like history or whatever. You can't talk about it. I can't remember what that word is. But when you guys are doing all these tests and putting things in the computer and system, is that for you all to be able to see around the world to where you guys can track, hey, like we see that this patient here, patient B right here has this right here, this heart condition. And then there's a person, let's say over in the United Kingdom, who's like, hey, I'm seeing the same thing. And then there's like is there a tracking system for all this to where they're able to, no? Well, damn.
Nope, not yet. That would be nice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, there's a lot of I guess where you're getting was the HIPAA privacy.
Yes, sir.
Stuff.
That's what I was looking for. I was struggling there.
No worries. So there are ways now, at least here, that there's software, there's HIPAA software interfaces that'll connect between the hospitals.
Okay.
And this gives, you know, permission, and then you can kind of go through and see a lot of that stuff. But as far as, you know, connecting histories, families across borders, and we're not there yet, and we should, but
absolutely.
The issue actually also means different things to different countries. Just my perspective.
Okay.
You go down to I've covered cardiology in some other places and Caribbean, and talked to some of our friends in Africa and such. And everybody's into privacy, but not other countries are as litigious as we are.
Okay.
So some people want to share their information. Hey, you need to know about me. Other people are like, don't even think about saying my name. No, that's it's pretty different. It's kind of hard to standardize this, but if you can figure out a way to standardize it, man, I'm with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, Mom, I have another question unless you have something to add another one.
Oh yeah, I am going to ask a question. But go ahead, ask your question.
What you guys saying about things like that you guys don't track, but how about in an instance with, let's say, COVID when that happened, and then Ebola virus, or is that more a CDC thing where, hey, we saw down here in this hospital, this person broke out with this virus that we haven't seen before? Actually, let's take it back to, let's say, the HIV the HIV when that
Pandemic,
happened.
when that happened.
Were you guys
Sure,
able to?
sure.
Were they able to track that? Hey, this hospital. I guess it was big all over the world, but New York and San Francisco, I think, probably had some of the largest populations of that. At least I think, from what I saw in history. Oh, sorry. What were they able back then? Was it someone that said, "Hey, look, this is we're seeing this disease, this cancer that we at least they thought it was cancer at the time that these people had that's killing people," and then did they report that to the CDC, or how did that work, or how does that work now, or is there still
Yeah.
nothing?
Yeah, no. So, I mean, there's a lot there. So when things break out, diseases, conditions break out, yeah, locally, some of the docs, the areas, the epidemiologists, the local organizations will start noticing. They'll say, hey, yeah, this is here. Why is it clustered in this area? Let's pay more attention to it. And then they'll start just tracking it and seeing how things are going. Yeah, there's a whole other group, the doctors and everybody, they're all treating it and taking care of it. They're not necessarily paying attention to the epidemiology. How far is it moving? Where is it spreading to? And the rest of that kind of stuff. Here we had USAID. We had a few different organizations in the US that would track this around the world.
Okay.
And pay attention to it. So like Ebola, we knew when that was coming out. COVID, everybody, a lot of people were paying attention to what was going on in China. The COVID or coronavirus itself was not new. It was never been new. I mean, I was
Oh, really?
No, I mean, you look at Lysol cans from 1975. We've known about coronavirus. I mean, everybody plays with them, and they're different variants and different variations.
Yeah.
Even during the COVID virus, I was testing for COVID, and I'd get things like COVID N65 back, which is not really the same. So that's not the thing. But there were organizations even here within the United States that would track all these diseases all around the world, epidemiological organizations all around the world. A lot of those places have been cut. A lot of the funding for all those things have been cut. So I don't necessarily know if we're going to be as robust as in tracking things down. I don't know if we're going to find everything and be ready to respond as much as we can. But yeah, that's what it is. But that's actually a whole separate, I guess, field of medicine, scientific discipline, I guess, because those of us on the I'm sorry. I was going to say those of us in the trenches, we're just like treating it and going, and then listen to the epidemiology guys telling us what's the next step.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mama Rush.
The organization WHO, World Health Organization, has a lot to do with that tracking. Do they not?
Oh, they do. They do. They collect a lot of data again from the more local epidemiology guys. Yeah, USPHS works with them as well.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you, and we're so glad that you're back, because now we're at 13.6 million viewers or people listening to the show or looking at the show. But I want to ask this question. What's the best piece of health advice you've ever received, or the best piece of, it could be a two-part question, or the best health advice you've ever given?
That's interesting. Put me on the spot with that one.
That's what we're here for, Doc.
I see that.
That's
okay.
what
We don't work with
Dr.
just fine. I just know doctors have great
Buckle
answers.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we asked you. We put you on the spot to buckle up.
See, I'll probably have a different answer if you ask me tomorrow and stuff.
Okay,
So
that's
it's okay though.
That's we can go past that one.
The best advice I ever got, honestly, was from my family in Jamaica. Right? They're like, look, the best medicine is just calm down, relax, enjoy life, enjoy the earth. What do they say? They said everything you need to heal you, God's already given you on the earth. So, sit down, relax, and enjoy it. The best advice beyond that I give.
I love that though, Dr. Smith.
That's excellent.
Oh yeah. My grandfather did that when he taught me how to eat mango in Jamaica. So it was funny because I was like thinking somebody can cut it up. My grandfather was like, "Nah, man, give me something, man. Let me show up and eat mango." And then he just like bit it. He was like, "Oh, y'all relax." I was like, "Oh, shoot. All right, cool." But yeah, but it's very different now in medicine. This is so funny you asked about that medical advice here. Because we actually were just yelling or talking and arguing about it. That might be why it's at the forefront of my mind. Again, I might have a different opinion tomorrow. But we were saying that Americans eat junk and too much of it.
Yeah.
Stop. Stop being a glutton. Eat for what you need. I mean, if you're not moving around doing like 50 million things, you don't need a full plate, right? No one
Mhm.
ever told you need to eat 3 times a day. I don't know where that comes from. Right? If you look at the body, insulin levels don't start dropping until about 4 hours anyway. You don't get into,
Mhm.
glycogenolysis. I mean, where you're like breaking down your sugar. You don't get into, lipolysis and ketogenesis where you're breaking down fat for like 8 to 12
Mhm.
hours. So why are we eating breakfast and then say, oh, well, I haven't eaten since breakfast. I got to eat again 4 hours later. Then, oh, well, that was 12. I'm
Mhm.
done at 1. Well, dinner's at 5. So, I mean, there's no way. So what I tell people is we eat too much junk. We eat junk and we eat too
Mhm.
much of it. Stop that.
Yeah. Ooh,
Okay.
Dr. Smith, I'm actually glad. I have a question to bounce off of that one from you, Mom. Dr. Smith, what would you say then? You said a thing about 3 meals a day. What would you say, honestly? Well, I guess it varies by weight. But actually, Dr. Smith, let's say for a person who's 180 pounds, 200 pounds, what should they eat? Basically, how should their day start off? Or how do you do your day with eating? You can even tell us your day. How does your day start off? And what is your meal plan? If
That's a good one.
that's probably the best. Let's go with you instead of making it up one. Let's go with you specifically.
Well, so for me, I don't eat breakfast at all. So I'll probably actually only eat 1 meal a day and just
Really?
spread it out. Never eat till you're full. I mean, there's no need for that. I just usually eat so I'm not hungry, right? And as far as this, I mean, the sweets, like stuff that you ever notice if you eat sweets, nobody really eats it and gets hungry. Sweets for me just makes me hungrier a
It
little bit,
does.
right? It's just crazy. And even when you eat sweets, like nobody eats them and says, yeah, hey, yeah, that was good. I need more to feel sustained. After you eat that first bite, cookie, candy, whatever, what's the next thing your brain tells you? It doesn't say, hey, I want to eat
Get
more.
more.
It says,
Mhm.
I mean, it doesn't say, hey, that was filling or something. It says, hey,
Yeah.
I want another one. Not because it tastes good, but I just want another one. Well, those kind of things are, to me, I don't know. I guess I'm just, um, I guess I overthink this. Yeah, I
That's
definitely
right, though.
because
Mhm.
for me it's like, well, if I do that, what's making me feel like I want more is really just a bunch of neurotransmitters, neurochemicals that activate dopamine in your brain. Those are the same things that are activated with alcohol, with drugs, and even just
Addiction.
being happy. So I'm like, well, if that's the case, then I obviously am not eating because I need it. In which
Mhm.
case my whole thought process changes. So yeah, so for me, breakfast is called breakfast because it's when you break a fast. And like I was talking about with
Mhm.
fasting, you
Oh,
start burning fat after about 12 hours or so. And I like burning fat.
so
So especially in the summer when I was trying to get all ripped up, I just burned a
yeah.
lot of fat. So I fasted for most of the days. A lot of the
Wait,
guys I know
doctor,
are trying to tell people to fast for 3 days a month, but
Dr. Smith, sorry. You're saying that if you don't
yeah.
eat for 12 hours, when you wake up, if you don't eat for 12 hours, your body will start burning that fat. Is that correct? Or am I wrong? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, it'll start burning up a lot of fat. And so a lot of people are like, well, if I don't eat, I'm going to lose a lot of muscle too. It takes a little bit longer for that. Actually, if you don't eat for a while, growth hormone starts increasing to try and protect your muscle,
Mm.
right? It's a matter of you moving. You move the muscles. Like Brandon, I know you used to like bench press cars, right? So
Yeah.
you just,
pretty
I
strong.
mean, but if you don't eat for a while, a lot of people say, well, I lost a lot of weight. I lost a lot of weight, but you didn't move. You didn't do anything. So a lot of that is water, right? And
Really?
they say,
Yeah.
well, I'm losing weight. Well, no, your muscles just shrunk a lot because the water is gone. Doesn't mean you lost that muscle. Go ahead and lift again. Go drink again. You see these people that blow right back up. So
Yeah.
it's more of a balloon thing than getting fat. But if you really want to burn fat, you got to give time for the sugar to get out the way. And then you
Really?
start burning the fat. Yeah. And that takes a while. It takes 8 to 12 hours. And then even then, I'm saying, again, these might be different. If you're taller, more, have a higher metabolism, it'll happen a
Mhm.
lot
Mhm.
quicker. If you sit down, then of course the fat lasts a lot longer. But
Mhm.
I mean, again, if I'm saying this kind of starts around 12 hours, it doesn't mean, oh, well, I went 12 hours, so now I'm burning fat. No, no, start at 12 hours. So now you're burning the fat. So go 16 hours, go 24 hours. Actually, at least once a month, I'll just fast for 24 to 36 hours just because.
Holy smokes. And then what do you drink?
And
Do you drink water? You have to drink water, I would assume, or you pass out.
Drink water. Yeah, I love tea. What's really good is peppermint tea.
Why
Yeah,
is that?
keeps your GI system moving well.
Okay.
mm.
Yeah, do a lot of green tea, which helps a lot. Not just for metabolism, for a lot for antioxidants, for anti-cancer stuff.
Okay.
It
Mhm.
also helps with blocking I guess, aromatase. So a lot of times, a lot of the extra estrogen, I guess I would say, it's very helpful, men and women, right? For men and women. So yeah, I like green tea. I like peppermint tea. I started mixing them both.
Okay.
You can do any of those things. It's just that if you're going to start drinking liquids, which is how a lot of us gain a lot of extra calories, right? We go and eat. Next thing you know, it's like we're drinking some stuff, juice, sodas, whatever. And people are like, well, what did you have for lunch? Or like, well, I just had a hamburger. You just kind of forgot and left out the whole juice and all the rest of that, which probably just doubled your calories and stuff. But you could drink, just avoid those things that are sweet. And again, not because they're sweet as a treat. It killed me on that. Side thing, real quick. It's so crazy. I told you yesterday we were having conversations. It was this craziest thing in the world because we're talking about people with obesity, hypertension, diabetes. We always talk about it. We call it metabolic syndrome. We know if you have hypertension, you're going to have obesity. You're going to have high cholesterol. We're waiting for this stuff to affect your heart and on and on.
Okay.
We can talk as doctors left and right, but nobody listens to us anyway. But we're going to keep talking.
Yeah.
But it's funny because then we tell people, don't eat the sweets, don't overeat, don't have this, don't have that. But the same things I'm talking about, the ice cream, cookies, cake that we're telling them don't have, we shove it in our kids left and right.
Yeah.
We say, it's a treat.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why yesterday I was saying we really don't like our kids in the U.S.
Yeah.
We really hate them.
If you're giving them like, and so what would you, I mean, it's interesting you say that, doctor, because now everybody's going back to school. Kids are off to college. A lot of times that's how the freshman 15 happens. Because I remember I was able to eat Chick-fil-A every single day in my 20s, which was nice. But let's say for parents that are packing their kids' lunches, what should they stick to? I know in the day, they used to have the food pyramid, which I don't see in classrooms. I remember seeing the food pyramid, like, hey, apples, grapes, and all that, the triangle, but I don't see that anymore. I mean, well, it might be that I still don't have any kids, so I'm not in the class. I was looking.
Yeah.
But basically, what should a parent be packing their kid for lunch? What advice would you give to a parent packing their kid for lunch?
Yeah, so what we do is, so it's easier said than done, first off, right? Because it's so much easier, cheaper, quicker to get these processed things and throw sweets in just to make sure that the kid's going to eat it and things like that. But no, I mean, if you're going to do fruit things, whole fruit, like the whole apple, if they're going to have, pears or whatever, those kind of things, cut it up, make it, from home, get the real stuff. Don't go out and like buy things over the counter from grocery stores that are packed in sugar.
Okay.
And if you are going to get fruit, just again, try to make sure it's not packed in sugar and you're good. As far as, the other things, my house, these kids, it's so funny. They'll just take whatever they had for dinner the night before and just wrap it up. Right.
Okay.
Nowadays, a lot of schools have microwaves and stuff. But if they're not going to do that, just kind of, it's easier to say avoid, like the processed turkey stuff for sandwiches, processed hot dogs, and kind of
wait, time out. You said a processed turkey, like, wait, hold up, doctor. I bought a bunch of turkey yesterday because I'm thinking that's healthy.
Yeah, man. I remind me to give you my business card. Later on if you're gonna. Yeah, no. So all the processed stuff, it really, it hurts you on a whole bunch of levels. A lot because of the chemicals in there. But your body has to fight those so much that it's always going to be inflamed. Your body's always going to have inflammation. No. Processed stuff. You get a real turkey. You get a turkey, a real turkey, real meat. Cut it up. I want to say, I almost wanted to say a certain like Jersey Mike, but I don't even know if that's real. But no, you get turkey. Yeah, cut it up. If you get it like, I've processed it in salt or like preservatives and I have it. This is kind of one of the ways I told some of my patients, like, look, check it out. If you ever drive down the street and you hit an animal, and this is oversimplification, definitely. Yeah. But you hit an animal in the morning, you go away and you come back later on that night, that animal starts turning all black and, you can barely recognize it and stuff like that. So if meat can decay that quickly, how do you trust it in a package with a date stamped on it? I'll get back to it next month.
Yeah,
there's just something weird about that. Now, again, I'm oversimplifying. A lot of other things happen, scavengers, et cetera, et cetera. But, if you're going to take like turkey, like you did, and if you have it in a package and it could just sit there, like I just threw out some today and it says like a date stamped on it for like a month, meat doesn't last that long. There's stuff in there that's trying to preserve it. So try to avoid that. Get as natural as you can. Eggs are great. You know, you don't always have to eat all the yolks. If you have high cholesterol, try to avoid some of the yolks, but those are great. What my kids like to do is every so often make tuna. They'll make it
I
up with
can't stand
different
tuna.
things. What is the matter with you? Really?
I kind of have like a little bit of one. I don't like tuna. Two, I don't like the smell of it, and then three, I don't know. I kind of have a fish thing, so it makes me sick a lot of times.
Got it. Yeah, no, it does that for some people. I'll let you slide with that one.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, you know, those kind of things. And interestingly, it's so funny because my kids, and it's going to sound weird, a little cliche, I don't know, but they like salads. They like mixed greens and stuff, such that my oldest son, my junior, he doesn't like cake, cookies. You give him stuff like that, he just literally will throw it away. And he's always been like that since he's a child. He's an adult man now, and he's always been like that. And so it's almost like train a child when they're young. When they're older, they won't depart. If you give them all those sweets and stuff like that, that's what they're going to look for. You got to start younger with like fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, as much as you can. The problem is they're just so much more expensive than everything else. But yeah, as easy as you can get with that, get away from the sandwiches, the Spam, the hot dogs.
Interesting fact. Go ahead, Mom.
Brandon.
No.
You said an interesting fact, Brandon.
Well, not a fact, Doctor. It's interesting that you say that. If you look at, let's just take it. I'm gonna put everything together here. I'm gonna talk about football. It's one of my favorite sports in the world. If you look at people from the East Coast, we're usually bigger. I don't want to say more athletic, even though we're big athletic people in general. If you look at linemen and that could be in the South, people are a lot bigger. You know, you got the linemen, you got the Alabamas, you got the South Carolinas, you got the Georgia boys, big. But then you look at those Midwest people, you got those country linemen who are those Midwest linemen who are drinking dairy. They're drinking stuff off the farms, corn, all that wheat fed. They are larger than large. So it's kind of like you're seeing, I don't know, I could be wrong, and I know genetics plays a part in this, but you're seeing different builds, I guess. If you look at football players, you see different builds. But although they all can be like, take Brock Lesnar, for instance. Do you know who Brock Lesnar is?
I don't know them.
Okay, he's just a genetic phenom, originally from South Dakota, but that's a Midwest type of guy.
Okay.
I think with what you see people eating, you see that their bodies turn out a certain kind of way, or they might end up being more prevalent or have different builds. And you look at people in California who would eat probably the healthiest, I would say, because it's sunnier outside, and they're usually on the skinnier side. So I guess the thing I was trying to say is the differences between the eating habits between the East Coast, the Midwest, and then putting that into how someone turns out build-wise. So getting back to you with your kids, when your kids, do any of your kids play football? Are they bigger builds or are they skinnier builds?
All of these guys are very slim, right? They run like crazy. You know, again, I say I'm Jamaican side, but quite honestly, my wife is a much bigger athlete than I was. I mean, she's in 5, about to get inducted into the 6 Hall of Fame.
Oh, nice.
This lady's just amazing. Her father was a track runner, on and on. So all 3 of my boys are very thin. They played soccer and basketball. They're almost like what you described. Eat whatever you want. They don't really gain a lot of fat.
Yeah.
But to your point, a lot of it is not just where you are, but yeah, a lot of people in the Midwest, my experience is they have a lot more activities, right? They walk further back and forth to school. They're doing things. You have more who are on farms, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
On the East Coast, again, I can only speak for myself and the guys I grew up with. Hey, you know, it's grab a Twinkie. This was me. Grab a Twinkie, shove it in your mouth, drink some milk, let it dissolve, and it just tasted good. You know, we're going to the corner stores in like Connecticut, the Northeast. We're going out in corner stores getting, we used to call them nomelators, but they're now-later candies.
Oh yeah, I know what they are. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Down south, it's a lot of other stuff, and you know, a lot of it's cultural too. You know, when you get people coming to the country, a lot of times they stay along the coast, right? Because that's where they came in, right?
Yeah.
More so than going inside. And you know, when you get that, a lot of outside of other countries, other cultures, other people would say, hey, you know, my father used to say this all the time: shove the food in, just keep eating and eating because you don't know when you're going to eat again. It's like, wow. So I mean, you know, there are a lot of different factors that you know go into that. And we can go on and list a whole lot more, but yeah, there are a lot of different things. So, but what it turns out is, you know, if you're more of doing like some of the sedentary stuff, you know, bench pressing and, you know, just like lifting a lot of weight and, oh, well, I'll go back later and do this for another 2 hours and go to the gym or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's a very different person than the other one who has to run back and forth all the time. And he's doing track and he doesn't lift weights.
Yeah.
And people talk about lifting or losing weight all the time. And for those who come to me, I'm like, well, run as far as you can, as long as you can. It's very hard to see a fat long distance runner. I almost never see them.
Oh yeah.
Sprinters, they have very different bodies because they need that muscle for that quick, fast twitch and stuff.
Yeah.
And then finally, it's about, hey, what do you do? I mean, some people say, yeah, I'm going to work out like a day. The body is very much into a habit. It's a habit thing. Whatever you do most of the time is what it wants. You try to exercise and do whatever you want, but it's going to try to bring you back. That's why it's so hard to work out 3, 4, 5 days a week. And you think you're going to do something. Well, 5 days a week, what is that, like an hour time, or even 3 days a week, well, an hour each time. But that's not really working out that whole time, right? You're in a gym. You see those people, they're working out for an hour, but they're really taking time between, sets, and they're relaxing and chilling, whatever. But that's 3 hours a week, 5 hours a week. What are you doing for the other 168 hours of the week?
Oh yeah, that could be messing everything up in the gym.
Do whatever you want. The body's going to always bring you back to here. You got to do so much more than that. And again, it's how you train your body. You got to get sleep. I tell people that too. Eating, getting fat it has to do with like eating and stuff. But obesity and that kind of stuff has a whole lot more to do with other things. I like to call them all the other S's. Salt. How much salt you take in? There's a lot of water. It gets rid of the cuts, the definition and stuff. And you put on a lot of weight. It's water weight. Sugar. We already know about sugar, right? It's going to overload your system and turn into cholesterol, turn into fats, et cetera, et cetera. But then sleep. You got to get sleep. I know a lot of people, they work out like crazy, and it's not until they sleep that they actually start seeing the benefits. And normally tell people 6-7 hours. And then the final part is stress. Build your muscle all you want to. If you're very, very psychologically stressed out, cortisol goes high, you're going to tear up and shred that muscle as much as possible. Without the muscle, you're not getting the metabolism, right? Your muscle is what burns all the energy. Yeah. If you break those muscles down, you just kill the energy, right? And so you're still going to look really fatter. And if it's cortisol, it's going to be the fat around the stomach, no matter how big you get. And if you eat a lot of sugar on top of that, because it'll make you, want to, you look like a football linebacker instead of Brandon type of exercise level stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because they moved me up to linebacker. That's because I can make all the plays. But I was a safety playing linebacker because my coach knew I was that good, so he needed me to make. I made all the plays. I made all the plays anyway, so that's why he moved me up there to make plays faster for everybody. But Mom, I think you had a question. You have a question coming in?
Yeah, well, I want to say something too. Brandon, you're a very healthy eater, and that's what I love. In fact, Dr. Smith, growing up in South Carolina, I must say, because of my mother's background, her mother from the islands, that whole area, we grew up eating fruits, and for desserts, we had a big box of oranges, big box of apples, and after eating our meal, we ate salads. That's all my mother would love to eat, salads. Brandon loves salads to this day. He'll eat a salad and maybe a piece of protein, but that's what he loves to eat is so much. I think we used to have grits. We would eat grits sometimes in the morning too, but we grew up on a lot of fish. We grew up on a lot of fish, a healthy way of living. And my mother never got big. She'd have her child and get right back down to size and all, or she would have us and just get right down to size. Now, my father, on the other hand, he was a nice size until he got that around 60, he started gaining weight. But my mother would always say, watch it, Benji, watch it. Do not get too big. That's what she would always say to him. And though we all had the same food and though he worked a lot, we did notice that. But one question I do have in this light, what is the most common misconception patients have about their health?
That they can lose it, that they can reverse it right away. Oh, I'm going to eat and eat. Don't worry, I can lose my weight right away. And I'm going to eat and do whatever I want to do. It's easy. I've been an athlete my whole life. Just give me a couple of days in the gym hey, I got bigger, I got fatter. No, it's just, I just got to change my eating up and my diabetes will go away. And it takes more. Like we're just talking about, it's a big old circle. Misconceptions like crazy. I moved from the Northeast down to, North Carolina, and it just freaked me out. People were over here frying pickles and eating. I'm like, well, how do you eat? People fried butter. It's great. We didn't have this place called Bojangles. I came down there and ate Bojangles, a biscuit, and I was sick literally for the rest of the day. I didn't know why. It was the biscuit fell apart, and I was like, dang, this biscuit, that is so. and then I was sick. But the thing is, somebody told me it wasn't really like a biscuit. It was like lard held together and fried in a flour. And I don't know how true it is. But the point is that I went down and like literally I gained like 30 pounds like quickly. I lost it all. Mama rushed by doing exactly what you said. You know, I just shoved in a lot of salads. I was eating salad in the morning, salad later on. And it turned out to be, it was so good that I didn't want the sweets anymore. I went back and somebody gave me like fruit punch or something. And you just taste all the chemicals. It was the nastiest thing in the world. So it actually cleansed your system. And people talk about detox. There's no, your body has the best detox systems in the world. The kidneys peeing out stuff, the GI system getting rid of it. It was great. And then people are like, hey, yeah, do some more protein, this and that. People forget that veggies are also protein. Spinach, you squash spinach together and have as much spinach as you have like chicken. You probably have more protein in all that spinach than you do in the chicken. So people kind of forget a lot of that. So I think what you pointed out is huge. If you eat right, you could shove in a whole bunch of food because it goes to energy. It goes to, natural metabolism and it burns up as quickly as possible. You start shoving a lot of other junk and garbage, your body has no clue what to do with it. Just store that up here. You don't really know what to do. Yeah, that's just the way the body works.
I got you. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you also is, what one thing you wish every patient would do before coming to an appointment with you?
Do their research up front and be willing to ask or be willing to talk to their doc. A lot of times I can't, and it sounds great, I can't stand when they just come in and expect the answers and then walk out. And the reason I can't stand it isn't the patient interaction. I love that. But then when they go, I feel like they didn't really understand what I was saying, or they wanted to ask something we didn't get to, because then that there's a downstream ripple of that effect from that. They'll go out, they won't listen to what you said. They'll talk to their friends and they'll say that doc is crazy. I don't know what's going on. And then all the time that we wasted, hurts whatever the problem was in the first place. Diabetes is going on for a lot longer. Kidney disease, liver disease, especially this whole concept of fatty liver, all that stuff is going on longer and longer and longer. But another thing about the body, it's almost like a waterfall. You get to a point where 60% is damaged, 70% is damaged, 80% is damaged, and it kind of falls. And you start having major symptoms. And I tell people, by the time you have to see me for problems, you've destroyed a whole lot leading up to it. So I wish they would look into that stuff and have longer, stronger, more informative discussions.
Well, I one thing I noticed when I used to sell medicines and patients would come in when I would do preceptorships with physicians, they would get afraid of that white coat. I call it the white coat syndrome. And they would just shut down, wouldn't say anything. And so I said, maybe that patient should have brought someone with himself or herself, or maybe bring a note card with the questions they want to ask a doctor, because I saw a lot of confusion in that whole process with patients, not understanding directions. And some of them were, one lady in particular, I'll never forget her. This doctor was going to do a colonoscopy on her. And she was supposed to prep before time. And she said, and I heard her say it because I was taking notes while the doctor was talking to her. And he said, well, did you follow all of the prep work that I told you to do? And she said, well, doctor, I'm not educated. I can't read, but I think I did what you said. So when we went into for her a time to have the colonoscopy done, the doctor went in there and it was like a brick wall. He couldn't get through with the scope. And so he looked at me and he said, see, he looked at me and he said, see, this patient is not prepared for this. You see what I'm having to do? And then he wanted to start fussing about her age. And then I said, doctor, did you know she said she was not educated and she probably didn't know how to read? And so maybe that's what happened here. And he looked at me and he said, yes, Carolyn, that's probably true. He said, but another thing, of this age, in her 80-something, I don't know why a physician would send her to our clinic today to have this colonoscopy done at all at that age. And why would you think that at a certain age, the doctor would just say something like that? Is it that it would not make a difference or what?
That's a tough one. That sounds more like a personality issue. Or it could actually be a stress issue. We should talk about that one day, of how the whole system stresses doctors out. So the whole customer service thing isn't really, you know,
Yeah.
preeminent. It's really, but it sounds like for this person, yeah, I mean, he or she may have just been doing a lot of colonoscopies and has seen this in the past and is just really frustrated and upset, such that, you know, we get desensitized over time
Yeah.
to, well, this is a person who's older, or maybe they had other issues that we should work on, or you know,
Mm-hmm.
make sure, you know, it's more like, it could be for some people like, listen, I got a procedure. You guys just make sure that's done. We got to do this, got to move. And if you get in my way, it's really a problem because now I have all the non-medical things I have to answer to. You know, I have whatever billing to collect, notes to do, people to talk about, jobs to support, and I got to see someone else. I still have notes and on and on. So it might have been a lot of frustration. And I think because we get desensitized over time, those are the kind of responses you get. Flip side, not flip side, but in addition, you know, this is kind of what I was talking about. If you have these kind of discussions, you know, with your doc, go ahead and look and read or whatever. Dr. Google is horrible for a lot of things. I don't know how much better AI would make it, but you know, come in with the discussion, come in with your misconceptions and your preconceived notions and such, so we can have these discussions. That and like you said, bring in a family member at times. Sometimes I'll tell people, bring in your family member. Sometimes I'll say, don't bring your family member, because sometimes they want to talk about stuff they won't talk about in front of their family member.
Oh,
right?
I got you. I got you.
Yeah, so I mix it up sometimes. But yeah, if you have all that and you can get better gauge your patient and where they are, that kind of stuff wouldn't have happened.
Well, one thing I noticed that I wanted to ask you about the stress level. And I know sometimes some of the systems make you see so many patients per day and you're trying to get all your notes and all of that done. But with that said, what's your go-to for stress reliever after a long day?
Well, so for me, it's a little different. I've been a martial artist my whole life.
Wow.
You know, kung fu, taekwondo, aikido, jiu-jitsu, and all that. So I mean, that whole mental control, relaxed, sometimes meditation. Yeah, I'm pretty good at it by now. Because however old I am right now, I'll never tell you how old I am, so never ask.
That's right. We're not asking.
Yeah, but it's that. And then it's playing basketball. And quite honestly, you know, over years, you're going to have to learn to separate, you know, things. I love coming home and getting out the Nerf gun and shooting all my kids as much as I possibly can. See, they have these regular little pea shooters and I have the machine gun and I'm just lighting them up. You know, we do stupid things like that. You know, I'll run out. You know, it used to be, you know, back in the day, you know, my wife and I would just go out for, you know, just a dinner. We would just go to some place we've never gone to, or just go to a movie. I'm like, why would I go see something like The Notebook? You know, I'm from Waterbury, Connecticut. We don't talk about things like The Notebook, but yeah, we went there and it was great. So yeah, we would just do different things like that. I'm not a structured kind of guy. Once I leave the office, I'm very structured in the office. So I know I'd like to be two different people. So it balances out. So when I go home, just whatever happens, laissez-faire. So yeah.
Nice.
Oh, well,
Doctor.
no, that's good.
Go ahead. Doctor, this might be a two-part. It is going to be a two-part question, but we can do it however you want to do it.
So good.
The first is going to be who inspired you the most in your lifetime, and why this might connect. There's a reason I'm going to say the second part is what was the first? What made you want to go into healthcare? So that might actually be two separate things, but those two things: who inspired you the most is one thing. Second question is what made you want to go into healthcare?
Actually, the interesting answer to both of those is really mom.
Really?
My mother, yeah, when she came from, so she was one of 15 that survived.
Holy
she's
smokes.
like the second oldest, I think. And so she's always been taking care of people. And, you know, we never got all the details, but I always heard growing up that she wanted to be a nurse or out of Jamaica. And, you know, it was kind of tough over there. She always wanted to come to America and make life better for the family and such. I'm the last of 6. And for her to get to America, she had to take a job as a maid, right, in Hawaii, then, you know, housekeeper. Then she moved to Connecticut by the time my father got to Connecticut. And then they had me. But even then, I would see her knowing that she wanted to be, you know, in healthcare, knowing how much she took care of all of us. And then to go see her work in the hospital, this is where you had to fold the linen. And she was just folding linen. And I'm, you know, it was one of those bring your kids to work day. And I'm seeing my mother folding the linen. And then I'm seeing other people saying, hey, Clarice, we need this, we need that. And they're like kind of telling her to do it. She's like, yes. And she's working on it. I'm like, who you talking to my mother like that? What are you doing? Don't talk to my mother like that.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? I'm going to work in the hospital. She want to take care of people. I'll take care of people. What's the highest level you can be? And as a 6-year-old, I'm like, a doctor. I want to be a doctor.
Oh,
And mom, I got you. You know, nobody's going to tell you what to do again like that.
yeah.
Obviously, that's not the real world. But again, I'm 6. So,
Still, yeah.
but the whole life, you know, her whole life, she just always took care of other people, everybody, always. And that actually put, you know, I guess my priorities in place. And I was talking to another friend about this yesterday. And, you know, hope I'm not offending anyone, but mine are straight. It's GFOY, God, family, others, then yourself. Right. And it's actually right in that order. And I got a lot of that from her. Okay. And, you know, so I wanted to be a doc because of that, the healthcare. I've seen what she's done. She's always putting people first. Well, what that taught me was that, look, there's always something more important than you. And then that meant there's always something that you have to deal with now that's more important than you wanting to relax. So get up and get it done. What she also did is being immigrants, first generation, they didn't know the college system here, how to navigate. Yeah. Oh, Dave, you want to be a doctor? How are we going to do it? I don't know. I didn't know what the MCAT was, the medical college admissions test. I didn't know what that was until halfway through college. My mother knew she couldn't, but she's so humble that she talked to someone else, and another doctor who knew her said, hey, look, I'll talk to him. I'll take him under my wings, which is kind of the second most important part that got me. Again, mother for everything. Yeah. And the close second in medicine was a guy named Alejandro Ortiz Burgos. And he took me under his wing. And I said, I want to be a doctor. And this is back in the days where people used to read. Yeah. He came out with like these 2 books. They were both 3 inches and big. And he's like, when you're done with that, come back and then we start. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, that stuff taught me how, and then I wanted to be like him because I felt like he knew everything in the world. So my mother and Alex, yeah, that's it. And to this day, I try to, you know, emulate that. I try to teach that to my students. I have mentees. I have 6 students right now. Some of them, and actually some who've actually been working, and he's more of a friend of mine than a student. But yeah, I try to pass on those same tenets. That same level of rigor, you know, the same respect for your craft. Because quite honestly, and this is going to sound arrogant again, I don't mean to sound arrogant, but quite honestly, when you're the doc, you know, and again, I told you when I was going through with my mom, I said, I want to be the boss. I don't want people to. So, but when you're a doc, the buck stops with you. You know, you make the wrong decision, you know, the outcomes can be catastrophic. Right. You're not, this is not playing around. This is not a game. This is not like, hey, I can think through. No, you need to be the cream of the crop. You need to know what you're talking about before you talk to people. And I got that from my mother too.
Wow.
Amazing. Your mom sounds like a wonderful lady. And I know she'd be very proud of you, and so would the doctor too.
Yeah. And one thing I want to mention, that Ortiz guy, is that the reason you said on one of the podcasts you wanted to fix your hair the way he had his hair?
The hair. Oh, you remember that part?
I saw that.
No, the hair part was Dr. Baldovi. He was my Filipino pediatrician, and that's when I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician until I got to med school. I was like, "There's no way in the world." Yeah. So I think my thoughts changed 3 times. First from pediatrician to neurosurgeon, which was really quick. I went to UConn, and they had my major there was physiology and neurobiology. And so it was all about the nerve and physiology. And there was no way in the world. And I met Ben Carson. I was like, no, this is just not going to work out. And then, cardiology. That's when I met Alex. And Alex was like, he wanted to be a cardiologist his whole life. And Alex was interesting. He had a really, really, really rough, background. I can just tell you, stuff that you can imagine, everything that you can imagine would be tough. I'm pretty sure he's gone through it. Without getting into details, but the thing about him outside of all that, he overcame a lot of that. He didn't even graduate college.
Really?
Wow.
But he went to Yale Medical School.
Oh man, amazing.
Because back then, I mean, the rules were that you had to take X amount of classes. You have to have these kind of grades. You have to pass the MCAT. And he's like, well, nowhere here does it say I need a bachelor's degree. So let me just ace the MCAT. He knocked it out. Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Nice.
Dude is big.
It's the story.
Yeah.
That's
but that again talks to his resolve. He's like, look, this is what I'm going to do. Everybody get out the way. That's what he instilled in me.
Dr. Smith, I think sorry, Mom, you about to say something?
No, I wanted to lead right in with that question, what he was just describing. I wanted to say, if you weren't but it seems like it appears that you always wanted to be something in medicine, because I was going to ask, if you weren't a doctor, what career would you have chosen?
Yeah, it'll have to be something in business, right? So,
Oh,
well,
okay.
let me back up. Let me back up. That's an interesting question because I meant different things at different stages. So,
Uh-huh.
in my younger years, of course, everybody rapped. I was rap, but I was I was a musician too. Played 3 or 4 different instruments, so I was good there. So you'd be like, yeah, if I can make money off of this, I would.
Mm-hmm.
I liked law after a while
Okay.
because I just thought, I thought I'd be really good at, manipulating situations
Mm-hmm.
to win. I'm not trying not to say be slimy lawyer because I'm not going to say that they're that. No,
Mm-hmm.
that's not. But then my brother's been telling me to be a businessman my whole life. So honestly, at this point, I think the best answer is if I could do something else, it would be in administration. I'd rather, I would do administration. But my dream
Mm-hmm.
job right now, today, would be to be continue being a principal investigator over clinical trials. I've been
Oh,
trained,
wow.
yeah,
That
trained in
that
research forever. Did it, I love it. And part of the big problem is that a lot of clinical trials have been underrepresented or misrepresented, in that
mm-hmm.
we make a lot of assumptions based off of a few people in certain
Mm-hmm.
situations, certain controlled situations, that doesn't really extrapolate to everyone else. Doesn't extrapolate people who look like us. Definitely doesn't
Mm-hmm.
extrapolate to people outside of the United States, because the United States practices medicine very different than most others. Yet they're
Mhm.
living
Mm-hmm.
longer and feeling better. What's going on? So
Yeah.
I'd like to be the clinical trialist that gets good population in. And I can just
Mm-hmm.
tell you, for a Black community, a lot of people in the Black community don't trust clinical trials, don't trust medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there have been a lot of things, as you know, in America. You probably know about the
That,
Tuskegee
Yeah.
experiments, and
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't really understand what that stuff, what actually happened. But they heard that there
Mm-hmm.
was a Tuskegee problem, and Black people, were killed. Um, it's not necessarily true how it worked, but guess what? If you have a Black investigator, um, it helps out a lot, right?
I
Because
Absolutely.
we can
understand.
have discussions that are culturally based. You have an investigator that is not necessarily seeing Black or white, but is just well trained, well rounded, which I think my background is. It helps
Yeah.
out a whole lot. And then finally, you get an investigator who's been on all sides. I've practiced
Mm-hmm.
academic, rural, community, every big practice, small practice, medium practice, solo practice. I've seen it all. And I like to
Mm-hmm.
call myself the last of the dinosaur. I'll read you a poem one day,
Mm-hmm.
that I actually still care.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's still not the dollar yet. And so that's
Yeah.
why, as a clinical investigator, that would be the dream job right now.
Oh,
So
wow.
over
What's
time,
stopping you,
musician,
doctor?
business, law, clinical trial.
Oh, wow.
So,
And so do you
doctor, my
think the funding might impact the funding now, with the climate as it is? Do you think the funding might be cut back, or you still will have the resources in order to pursue research more vigorously now? What do you think
It
about that?
has. It's already been cut big time. A lot of
Oh, wow.
NIH funds have been cut. A lot of research has been cut. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
schools, because of administration and cuts like that, they're actually
Mm-hmm.
afraid to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I don't know, it depends on how you look at it. It's almost censorship, right? People tell
Mm-hmm.
you what you can and can't do based on how much money we're
Mm-hmm.
going to give you to do one or the other, which honestly means I can make you do what I want. Just give money this way and take the other ones away. So that kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff, yeah. But as far as the pharmaceutical stuff, I
Mm-hmm.
don't a lot of it will be cut,
Mm-hmm.
because again, they're private industry. They have to get the
Mm-hmm.
drugs out. They have to do what they have to do, and their money that they make is independent of government, right? Their profits that they make will be independent of government. That said, the final part is, recently there was some government level legislation that's supposed to affect drugs, where you're going to get them, how much you're going to charge, and more things. And if that happens, I do think some of the money will be cut from clinical investigators doing their work, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
show. You're going to get what you pay for. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Doctor, what's the reason I hit it with 2 parts here. What's stopping you? And the reason I say what is stopping you from going into this is because, for instance, I I started my career off in Los Angeles, but I knew I always wanted to be in New York. I remember that I felt that I had grown past what was going on for my career. My career was at a point where I wasn't getting seen like I probably should have been getting seen for roles. So I moved to New York because I wanted a challenge. I knew some of the best people in the world were in New York. So I went there, I competed with those people in New York, and I ended up being blessed and working there. Next week, I take it over to London and start competing in London. On stage. I'll be on stage competing for roles in London starting next week because I'm a person that can teach.
Excellent. Congrats.
Thank you, Doc. I'm going after that because I have to continue to level up and I have to continue to be the best that I can at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, and the reason I want to relate that, what is stopping you now with you are in your career from going after being that investigator? Because you are passionate about it. I can see it in your face. I've heard that from you since the first day you came on the episode. I knew there was something you were passionate about. What is stopping you from doing that right now? And if anyone's getting in your way, sometimes you got to run people over. I'm a big fan.
I like it. No, definitely. The only thing stopping me right now is a study, honestly. I've done studies. I've been principal investigator of multiple studies. I've done basic science studies when I was at Yale on a grant. I've done clinical training, Harvard, Columbia stuff. I've actually been a PI of multiple studies and sub-investigator of multiple studies. The newest thing is I had this new diversity training. Diversity meaning, you can do all different types of studies. You're speaking to all different types of research, all different levels of research. But I recently got a training grant. It's called
awesome.
Yeah. And then I got it from the National Medical Fellowship. They are huge proponents of research, but not just research. It has to be quality, sound research. You have to, definitely be responsible for what you're doing. And Lavinia Dash, she actually says she knows you, by the way. I don't know how,
really?
but you know a lot of people. So I talked to them. I have to, obviously give reports, but I did get a grant. All I'm waiting for now is that now I have a little bit of an infrastructure. Ideally, I'd love to have more space where I can have full space 5 days a week and such. But right now I have a little bit of an infrastructure. I just need a company to say, hey, Dave, okay, will you be one of our investigators for this trial? The answer is, of course, yes.
Okay. Awesome, Doc. Yeah, I think that what you're doing, I commend what you're doing because, obviously, I say that because I think that the oncologist that my dad had was an evil man, and he's a person that probably needs to be. He really was. And that's me trying not to cuss because I really don't like the guy, and there's very few people in my lifetime that I don't like, but he's on the top of that list. So people like him need to be reviewed, and the reason I say that is because he used my dad as a clinical trial. When my dad was taking medicine that was helping him, he purposely changed that medicine to something that didn't help my dad and killed him. So with your clinical research or what you're going to be doing is, I think the reason I think that you would be great at this is because you're that person who I think will look into cases like that with people, if that's what that job entails, looking into practices with people because, my dad shouldn't have been an experiment. And nor should anybody's family member or loved one be an experiment for some doctor that is getting paid to do whatever.
Jeez, yeah, that violates every ethical principle in clinical research, in that to get paid to do whatever. Now, I don't know what happened in that particular, with your dad and that oncologist. Yes, but the purpose of having a principal investigator who knows what he or she is doing and is invested is to make sure that that doesn't happen, that there's nothing going to hurt them. We call it do no harm, no non-maleficence, right? There've been a bunch of different, treats out there. Everyone goes through something called good clinical practices. And so there should be no question. Every investigator knows the standard. There's the Nuremberg, where after Nuremberg, actually syphilis experiments and such, we've all elevated and we've all come to a certain level. We've all come to an international standard, right? And so where you need to be. What I think is those of us who've come through and recognize some areas in research that could be better, we need to take that standard a little bit higher. And that actually involves you spending time and spending effort, and the money should not be part of the factor when you deal with lives. Again, if we're dealing with science, good science, it has to be good science. Money's not part of that.
Amen.
I love hearing that. Well, the final question I have, and it's not, well, it's a question.
Thank you, Doctor, too, for your.
I first of all, I appreciate so much you talking about ethics, the ethical values of a doctor, oversight of certain things that PI like yourself would do. But the question we're talking about that ethics that comes with medicine and the code that you take. What one piece of advice you would give a medical student today?
It's funny you say that because we joke that don't go to medical school. We say that because life is very different now. It used to be kind of what I said. That's kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I'm saying I was the last of the dinosaur, where, we'd get up, we'll see patients, we'll stay up late. Back when I was training, I think I've done 100 to 130 hours a week, something like that. Because we were called residents because you resided in the hospital, and I would just not get enough. I would see patients in the day, see whatever, stay later, and then I'd moonlight overnight. One day I went in the ICU, stayed there, 5 o'clock, everybody else left. I was still there overnight on call, stayed there, got all the notes done. By 7 o'clock the next morning, I was ready to present again and go on and on till 5. Go home, rest, rinse, relax, whatever, repeat, and then you go redo it again. So every 3 days you're on call. So that's how we trained. The new doctors don't train like that. They have like their hours are curtailed. A lot of things are kind of packaged and presented, and so a lot of the doctors nowadays have like a different experience. So, and you get out what you put in. So if they were trained one way, you're going to get the best out that way. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of volume that's going higher. You have the nurse the nurse practitioner now who's, helping, and more of these states are giving them more autonomy to work alone. The PA who kind of train more like the doctors for a year or two now, they're actually moving on their own. And again, states are giving them more autonomy, saying to the doctor that, doctor, you need to be, responsible if the PA or the nurse messes up, but at the same time, still take care of your own work. And so, for a doc, they're balancing a lot of stuff. How do you see your patient? How do you take care of your others? How do you oversee these other ones? At the same time, you have to meet a certain number. You have a certain person telling you that, hey, your salary is based on this or that. You have to get notes done if they're not done in a certain way, and on and on and on. Long laundry list of things. Nothing I said has anything to do with being in med school or the reason we went to medical school. So you go through all of med school, and real life is 180 degrees from that. And that's why docs are burning out. We're like, we're tired. I didn't go to med school for this. You're killing me. Right. So what I would tell a medical student now, if they were there, is learn as much as you can. So you're as fast as you can. Anything medical school, anything you look, all those books, whatever, get hungry, be a sponge, suck up as much as you can, because you're not going to have time to do that when you get out of practice, if you stay in practice. And quite honestly, most docs are not going to stay in practice. They're going to leave.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And again, the system made it like that. And again, it's like you're going to get what you paid for. If you train all these doctors, you try to get the best trained doctors, but then you curtail their learning and then tell them to come out and we're just going to crucify you for everything. Doctors aren't going to stay. And then you're going to get what you pay for. Doctors who don't want to be here.
Well, you are an outstanding doctor.
Absolutely.
And I can see why you're on the speaking circuit, and you go from university to different universities speaking on medicine, cardiovascular medicine. And I commend you for being so smart and all your outstanding work out there and the difference you are making. And so with that, I'm so glad that you came back on the Buckle Up Podcast universe. Anything you want to ask us today?
Yeah, when can I come back again? You guys are cool. I love the Buckle Up.
Oh, yeah.
I love this. I love the podcast.
Well, Doc, I'm going to be a bit down. Because I'm going to be in the United Kingdom, I probably won't be doing many over here because I'm going to focus on getting everybody that I can in United Kingdom and Europe while I'm over there, because I'm going to be doing the show over there too. But yeah, would love to have you when I get back. I'm going to be gone for the month. So going to be we're going to be gone for the month. Our show's going to be gone, and we're going to be gone for the month. So wanted to, but whenever I get back, we'll definitely be down for that. Doc, I was just thinking, man, you could have a TV showing yourself, and here's the reason why I say that. If it actually, I don't want to give the idea away, but it's the fact that you back in the day, there was Grey's Anatomy. There was an actor who got fired from the show, but
Oh, yeah.
I love this character. Isaiah Washington is the actor's name. He played that doctor that reminds me of my Uncle Ben, actually. It'd be a combination of my Uncle Ben and like you, is what he kind of reminds me of. But to have a doctor who's passionate, because I can tell that you're passionate, I almost want to put on my leather jacket, my black beret, and my black gloves and go have your back on sticking up for these people that I think that you're seeing. I can tell from just hearing you that you've seen things that aren't right. And you're trying to do your best as one of the last of the Mohicans or the old school people that are trying to make a difference because the direction things are going and aren't looking good. And it's important to bring back that human factor and that human element that might be disappearing. So I love that you're staying passionate. I consider myself a bit of a rebel myself when it comes to fighting for what's right. And so I pray that, one, you won't ever change that path. And two, that God continues to bless you. And then three, we will have you back on because now you got me hyped, man. I don't want to get started now, but I know you got to get doing what you're doing. But doctor, we appreciate you today. When I get back from the United Kingdom, we'll definitely have you back on then because I'm gonna be down.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Doc.
This has just been
Good to see you guys
wonderful.
again.
All right, thank
Absolutely.
you
Great
so
seeing you too.
much.
You knocked it out the park, Doc. Go whenever
All right.
you walk in tomorrow to your office. Have your shoulders held a little bit tighter, a little bit, your chest out a
Stand
little
up
bit.
strong.
Yeah, and then let the nurses at your place let them know I said hello to. And,
Will do.
And
Will
tell
do.
your office personnel, thank you so much for giving us your time today. And we know you have to get back to it, but we appreciate this. And we also always appreciate the ethical value that you bring to our show when it comes to what you do for a living. Okay.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. So
Keep
good to
fighting the
hear from
good
you
fight,
again.
Doc.
Gotcha.
Thank you. That's
Yeah. All right, Doctor. We'll talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Thank you
Wonderful.
so much.
Let me see. How do I make sure I stop this real quick?
Brandon.